Good morning, everyone. We'll call the Committee on Commerce and Consumer Protection to order. I'm Senator Roz Baker, the pleasure of being chair. To my right is Senator Clarence Nishihara, and to his right, left, is Senator Joyce Buenaventura and Senator Gil Riviere on the end of the table. And we have a number of items on our committee, but let me go into housekeeping announcements first. In the unlikely event that we have to abruptly end the hearing due to technical difficulties, the committee will reconvene to discuss any outstanding business at 10 o'clock Wednesday, March 23rd in room 229. Public notice will be posted on the legislature's website. This meeting is being streamed live on YouTube. If there are temporary technical glitches during your turn to testify via Zoom, we may have to move on to the next person due to time constraints. We appreciate your understanding and remind you that the committee has your written testimony. I will be reading a list of individuals who submitted written testimony for each measure. We apologize if the closed captioning doesn't accurately transcribe the names. If you're interested in reviewing the written testimony, please go to the legislature's website. You'll find a link on the status page for the measure that you are interested in reviewing testimony on. So let us begin with the first House bill on our agenda. This is House Bill 2111, House Draft 1, relating to insurance. It amends the limited lines producer licenses to include all aspects of travel insurance. We gets rid of some obsolete and outdated items, excludes dental insurers and dental service corporations as third-party administrators, increases the surety bond requirement, requires renewal certificates and audited financial statements in the annual reports of third-party administrators, adopts the National Association of Insurance Commissioners revised suitability and annuity transactions model regulation provision, and it has an effective date, and it is referred only to this committee. So as our first testifier, we would welcome the Insurance Commissioner, Mr. Colin Hayashi, who is in the room with us today. Nice to see you in person rather than on Zoom.
Nice to see you in person as well.
Yeah, I think you need that.
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Colin Hayashida, Insurance Commissioner for the Department of Commerce and Consumer Affairs. You have our written testimony. The department strongly supports this administration bill, and we do request an amendment, and that would be to the effective date in section 11. Also, although not in our written testimony, as a possible option that you may have is to insert the Senate Bill 3079, the companion, into the House Bill 2111 as a possible option. We have no further comments. Thank you for allowing me to testify, and I'll be available for any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to welcome Vice Chair of the committee, Senator Stanley Chang, to join us. The next testifier is Hawaii Western Management Group, Paul Kaiser. Is Mr. Kaiser on the call? If not, we have his written testimony. Next testifier is American Council of Life Insurance, Mr. Sen Chickamaudo, and I see Oren on the call. Would you like to present your testimony, Oren? You're muted. No, apparently you're still muted. IT, can you assist to make sure that we can hear him? Because I see him unmuted.
Say something.
Try again, Oren. You looks like you're unmuted, but we cannot hear you for some reason.
Hi, Chair. This is IT.
Yes?
We're working on it.
Okay, I'm gonna go to the next person. And if you can give me the high sign when you get Oren's voice available to us. So we have Cynthia Takanaka for NIFA.
Morning, Chair
morning.
Baker, Vice Chair Chang, members of the committee. So nice to see you all in person. My first Senate hearing in 2 years. So it's good to be here. We are in support of this NAIC model regulation. We concur with the commissioner after chatting with him this morning that we also like to see the SB 3079 as it is a cleaner draft. My organization has been working with NAIC on this, and it's good for the consumer because the consumer's interests will be put first and foremost. 19 states have already adopted this model language. We're working hard all across the nation to get it passed. And as session goes on, as the year goes on, I'm sure there will be many more states adopting it. So thank you very much. Nice seeing you all again.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have IT? Do we have Mr. Chickamaudo's voice available? Oren, you
Not
want to
yet.
try?
We're still
Pardon?
working on it.
Okay,
Not
yet. Okay, do we have Blake Oshiro on the call? American Insurance Group. Testimony and support. Hawaii Independent Insurance Agents Association. Testimony and support. Anybody else here wishing to offer comments on House Bill 2111? Oren, I'm sorry, but we're going to have to move on to the next one. We do have your testimony for the record in support, and I'm sorry there were technical difficulties. The next measure.
Chair, may I ask a question?
Yes.
Thank you. For Mr. Hayashi. Thank you. I just wanted to ask a question. The increase of the surety bond from 100,000 for the first 2 years, then to 300,000. Could you explain the logic of that? If there's a need for the 300, why wouldn't it start from the first year and then?
Initially, when we asked for the authority, we tried to get it in as 300,000, but there was too much opposition from HWMG, I believe. And so we changed it back to 100,000. And then we came in this session to kind of grandfather it in, the 300,000, where after the third year, you get the 300,000. And I think our concern there with the TPAs is that if a health plan or health insurer is going insolvent, but a majority of their money is in their subsidiary TPA, there's only going to be limited access to get that money.
Okay.
So the idea is to have them.
Is the idea that the business is growing, so those first 2 years are not as exposed, and then?
Well, I think the idea is to get them to reserve more, so that the business becomes sustainable.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are these other states that are adopting this unified standard, are they at 300,000 or are they somewhere else at 100 maybe?
I think they follow the 100,000, but I think with our track record in terms of insolvencies, a lot of times it's tied back to the TPA, where they're moving the money to the TPA.
Okay, so we would be different than the national uniform standard. We would be higher in this regard.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have Mr. Chickamaudo on the line? Okay, don't think we're able to do that.
Senator, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Okay, we've got a bunch of feedback happening. You want to try? Just give us your testimony, Oren.
Okay.
Okay, we're
He's
not.
muted again, that's why. They're fine.
Hello?
Okay,
Senator, can you hear me?
yes, I can, but there's some feedback.
Okay, so what I'd like to say is that with respect to the commissioner's suggested amendments, I need to know exactly what the effective dates he is referring to. In this particular bill, there are actually two crucial dates that ACLI is concerned with. First would be the overall effective date of this bill. And the second is the effective dates with respect to the dates by which insurers and its producers are required to comply with the new educational requirements required by the NAIC education requirements. With respect to the producer effective dates, ACLI would request completion of the course 6 months after December the 31st of 2022, and an overall effective date of the Act on December 31, 2022. These particular dates are those that we have urged to this committee in the prior companion bill, SB 3289. We would agree to the insertion of SB 3289 with one amendment, which deals with section 11 of that bill. I believe it's the last section if I got the section wrong. And what we would request is that in our earlier testimony on that bill, we had requested an effective date of the overall act. And I'm trying to find the testimony. And I think I have it right here. And that would be I'm trying to find it now, and
We've got it. We've got it, Oren. You don't need to look for it.
The overall section is section 8 in that bill, Senator. And what we would request is that the act be effective upon its approval, provided that the purpose sections in section 1 of the bill shall have an effective date of December 31 with an overall effective date of the act on July 31 of 2022. Those are my comments and suggestions.
Okay, thank you very
Senator
much.
and members of the committee.
Okay, we're moving on. Any questions from members? If not, let's move forward to House Bill 2112, House Draft 1. This is relating to credit for reinsurance. Mr. Hayashida.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Colin Hayashida, Insurance Commissioner for the Department of Commerce and Consumer Affairs. The department stands on its written testimony offering support for this administration bill. We just respectfully request an amendment to the effective date in section 6 of the bill. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. I'm available for any questions.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Hawaii Insurers Council, Allison Uyoka. submitted testimony in support. HMSA, Matt Sasaki. Are you on the Zoom
Good
call?
morning,
Matt?
Chair. Good morning,
Please
Chair,
proceed.
Vice Chair, members of the committee. We have submitted written comments in support and will stand on our testimony and are available for any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chickamaudo. We have your testimony. Okay, Hawaii Independent Insurance Agents Association. Testimony and support. Anybody else here wishing to offer comments on this one? We had late testimony from the Reinsurance Association of America, ACLI, American Property Casualty Insurance Association. Anybody else here wishing to offer comments on this measure? If not, members, any questions? If not, let's go forward to the next measure. Mr. Chickamaudo, we have your testimony. We're going to the next measure. I'm sorry that we're not able to work this out, but we have your testimony. We're moving on. House Bill 2114, House Draft 1, relating to mortgage rescue fraud. Amends the definition of a distressed property consultant and a mortgage assistance relief service in the Mortgage Rescue Fraud Prevention Act, and it has a defective date. This is part of the governor's package. DCCA, Mr. Evers, are you on the call?
Yes, I am. Good morning.
Good morning.
I am here to testify on behalf of the DCCA in support of House Bill 2114. As an enforcement attorney with the Office of Consumer Protection, I regularly have to enforce both the federal law, the Mars Rule, as well as the state law, Chapter 480E, which prohibit mortgage rescue fraud. There's currently a discrepancy between the exemptions available under the federal law and the state law. At the federal level, there's only 3 exemptions. And under the state level, there are 8 exemptions. Interestingly, a violation of federal law or state law is a violation of Hawaii Revised Statutes Chapter 480, which prohibits unfair, deceptive acts or practices. And under Chapter 480, there are no exemptions. And as you can see from our written testimony, every profession has members who can engage in misconduct. So the danger of having these exemptions is that a rogue member of a profession is going to end up injuring consumers. So this bill is aimed at cleaning up the state law so that we recognize just the 3 exemptions recognized under federal law. We did receive opposition from the Hawaii Bankers Association, and with respect to that, we'll stand on our written testimony. But I will point out that lenders and servicers and their agents are 2 of the exemptions recognized under the Mars Rule. We also reviewed the opposition testimony filed on behalf of the Hawaii Association of Realtors. There is no exemption for realtors under the Mars Rule. The FTC has been accommodating with respect to short sales involving a consumer's residence and issued a policy statement to that effect, which is cited in HAR's footnote 2 to its opposition. But the FTC's policy statement makes very clear that there is no exemption for realtors. In fact, if there was an exemption, there'd be no reason for the policy statement in the first place. If you look closely at that statement, the FTC's policy statement, it says that after indicating that they will continue to enforce consumer protection laws against real estate professionals who engage in unfair, deceptive acts or practices, it goes on to say, quote, in addition, the commission will continue to enforce the Mars Rule, as well as Section 5 of the FTC Act, against real estate professionals to the extent that they are providing other forms of mortgage assistance relief services, end quote. And in the context of that, when they refer to other services, they're talking about services other than short sales. The policy statement was simply aimed at short sales by a consumer of their primary residence, nothing more, and it did not raise to the level of exemption. So we would ask that you support HB 2114 in its current form. I'll be happy to address any questions anyone may have, but otherwise, thank you for this opportunity to speak to you.
Thank you very much. We also have on the Zoom call, Mihoko Ito representing Hawaii Association of Realtors in opposition.
Good morning, Chair and committee members. Mihoko Ito on behalf of the Hawaii Association of Realtors. You have our testimony before you, but just in response to the testimony by the previous testifier, there is a carve out that the FTC clarified in 2011 that it would not enforce the Mars rule against real estate professionals except for in misrepresentation cases. And today, even with the exemption in place under the state law, misrepresentation claims can already be pursued against licensees under the existing state law to go after any bad actors. Realtors do perform services that overlap with distressed property consultants. And they provide assistance to distressed homeowners by giving them advice and negotiating with lenders on their behalf. And the FTC explicitly recognized that by carving out enforcement against real estate professionals. So we are asking that the exemption for real estate licensees be restored at page 3, lines 16 through 20. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Hawaii Bankers Association, Neil Okabayashi. Is Neil on the call? He sent in testimony in opposition. Anybody else on the call wishing to offer comments on House Bill 2114? Anybody in the audience wanting to offer comments on House Bill 2114? If not, members, any questions?
Yes, for Mr. Evers, just really short. Mr. Evers, if you've heard testimony that the realtors and the bankers are not being, that there is no need for this bill because basically the federal government continues to allow them to be exempted from the federal requirements. Do we even need this bill?
Well, we do need this bill. I'm not sure I followed your question. Not the federal exemption as to lenders and servicers isn't across the board. It's the particular lender or servicer for a particular consumer because they have a vested interest in that particular loan.
Okay, well, maybe let's make it a little bit clearer then. Because I looked at your testimony and you came up with like 3 instances of one person without a license being convicted for wire fraud, but obviously a law was in place, otherwise he wouldn't have been convicted. Another one who was disbarred, and you mentioned that it was illegal conduct and he was held in contempt of court. It seems to me that the instances you have provided show that there is already a law in place, otherwise they wouldn't have been convicted. So I'm back to why do we need this bill?
Well, there is a federal law and the state has its own counterpart. I think they're designed to do different things. We have needs in Hawaii that aren't necessarily the same as the needs elsewhere. You know, you look at our incomes versus the property values. It just isn't the same in other places.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? If not, members, let's go on to the next item on our agenda, House Bill 2115, House Draft 1 relating to mortgage servicers. authorizes the Commissioner of Financial Institutions to modify or waive requirements relating to mortgage services in Chapter 454M Hawaii Revised Statutes to implement changes and improvements made to the NMLS, National Multiple Listing Service. I believe is what that acronym stands for. Iris.
Yes, good morning, Chair Baker and members of the committee. My name is Iris Ikeda, and I'm the Commissioner for the Department of Commerce and Consumer Affairs, Division of Financial Institutions. And this is an administration bill to allow for some flexibility as NMLS continues to modernize the processes and provide efficiencies for both the licensees and for DFI. We have one amendment that we would like, which is to change the effective date on the measure in Section 3 to July 1, 2020. And this would be consistent with the bill you folks had previously passed out, Senate Bill 3083. And this will allow DFI time to update its processes with NMLS. I know it's a mouthful. So thank you.
Okay.
2020 or 2022?
Oh, I'm sorry, 2022.
2022. That's what I thought it was.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anyone else on the call wishing to offer comments on House Bill 2115, House Draft 1? Okay. Any questions for Iris? If not, let's move forward to House Bill 2272, House Draft 1. This measure is relating to condominium associations, permits 67% of unit owners to amend a condominium declaration, requires developers to include annual reserve contributions based on a reserve study, clarifies time and date requirements for positions to amend bylaws, and call for special meetings, electronic machine and mail voting during periods of emergency, timeframe for approval of minutes, and board meeting participation. It has a defective date. Hawaii Insurers Council, Ms. Ueoka, are you on the call? She offered testimony in support. Richard Emery, Associate, testifying in support. Palehua Townhouse Association, Mike Galoyo Sr. in support. Honolulu AOAO Resident Manager in support. James Sugimura, HCCA in support. Porter McGuire Tiacona LLP, Laurie McGuire in support. Kokua Council, Lila Maurer in support. Hawaii Legislative Action Community, Jonathan Billings in support. Hawaii State Association of Parliamentarians, Steve Glanstein in support. Chandra Kanimaru in support. We have late testimony from Charlie Pear for representing ARDA in opposition. We have individuals, Jeff Sedino, Lynn Natasau, Bill Nerney, Ann Anderson, Lance Fujisaki in support, and Paul Ireland Koftenow in support. Is there anyone? I see a face up there. I'm sorry, I don't recognize the name. I cannot read it from this distance. Would you please, if you want to testify, would you unmute yourself and give us your name and your testimony?
Yes, good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. My name is Laurie McGuire, and I'm actually here on behalf of Porter McGuire, but also I'm standing in for Steve Glanstein of the Hawaii State Association of Parliamentarians Legislative Committee, and also in place of Jonathan Billings on behalf of CAI LAC, both of which had conflicts and couldn't be here this morning. So we stand in support of the testimony submitted in particular with regard to Section 4. A working group came together over the last several weeks to make changes to Section 4. We put together a draft that we have provided to the committee, and we would just ask that you pass this bill with the proposed amendment in section 4. And thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else wishing to offer comment on House Bill 2272? If not, members, any questions? And hearing none, that brings us to the end of our agenda. Let's take a brief recess so we can consult with one another, and we will be back for decision making. Recess. We will call the committee back to order for purposes of decision making. And on the first measure, House Bill 2111, House Draft 1 relating to insurance. This is part of the governor's package. Chair recommends that we pass it with amendments. They're the ones that on the DM notes you're looking at are highlighted in yellow. Making an overall effective date of 7/1/2022, taking ACLI's recommendations regarding the purpose of the act and conforming amendments, NYFA's amendments noted below regarding a producer and one-time training requirements to be completed by 7/1/2023, ACLI amendments to address annuities inclusive of amendments to Section 1, Section 6, page 39, lines 16 to 21, and page 40, lines 1 to 15. Keep the surety bond requirement consistent with the NAIC Model Act to be maintained at $100,000. Any questions or concerns or comments? If not, Vice Chair, Chair votes aye. Pass with amendments.
So recommendation for House Bill 2111 HD1 is passed with amendments. Chair votes aye. Vice Chair Chang, aye. Senator Hawai'i.
Aye.
Senator Nishihara.
Excuse me.
Senator Rubier.
Aye.
Senator San Buenaventura.
Aye.
Senator Pavella.
Aye.
6 ayes, recommendation adopted.
Thank you, members. The next item on our agenda is House Bill 2112, House Draft 1 related to credit for reinsurance. This is also governor's package. Chair recommends that we pass this with technical amendments that were provided to us by SMA and an effective date of upon approval. Questions or comments? If not, Chair votes aye.
For HB 2112, noting the excusal of Senator Nishihara, are there any objections or reservations among the members present? Seeing none, the recommendation is adopted.
The next item is House Bill 2114, House Draft 1 relating to mortgage rescue fraud. This is also a governor's package bill. However, the House heard the Senate bill, which we passed over first, Senate Bill 3082. And so we're going to defer this measure indefinitely. The next measure is House Bill 2115, House Draft 1 relating to mortgage servicers. This is also governor's package. Authorizes the Commissioner of Financial Institutions to modify waive requirements relating to mortgage servicers in 454M HRS to implement changes and improvements made to the NMLS. Iris, we need a new name for that. The recommendation is to pass with amendments, basically putting a clean effective date of 7/1/2022 on it. The Senate companion is not moving, so we'll go with this House measure. Chair votes aye.
We have the members present. Are there any objections or reservations to the chair's recommendation? Seeing none, the recommendation is adopted.
House Bill 2272, House Draft 1 is next on our agenda. It relates to condominium associations. It permits 67% of unit owners to amend condominium declarations and a few other cleanup items. Chair recommends that we pass with the set of amendments requested by Palehua Townhouse Association and Honolulu Tower AOAO, as well as the Hawaii State Association of Parliamentarians Legislative Committee and others who suggested similar amendments. as well as the amendment suggested by Jeff Savino and Hui O'Ia, with an effective date of 1/1/2023. Any questions, concerns? If not, chair votes aye. Pass with amendments.
Have members present, are there any objections or reservations? The chair's recommendation? Seeing none, the recommendation is adopted.
And I believe that brings us to the end of our agenda. Thank you very much, members, for your participation. We are adjourned.